Hi everybody and welcome back to The Discerning Otaku. This will be the second video for this weekend, and this one is actually about anime, the topic that I started this channel wanting to discuss with people. So without further ado, we're about halfway, well, we're a little over halfway through this current fall season, so we're going to have a whole crop of new stuff popping up for the winter season. So I just want to quickly go over the sequels or the secondary seasons or the first season part two or what have you of the returning shows that I'm actually checking out in fall season. So nothing about the new stuff. I don't tend to do preview videos. There's a whole bunch of other channels that do that, and I always seem to get copyright struck when I post any trailers or things. So obviously that's why my face is here. So sorry about that. But unless somebody reaches out and tells me how not to get copyright struck, I'm just going to keep doing it this way. So without further ado, I'm going to make this video fairly short and sweet because since they're sequels or follow-ups or things like that, most people are probably already going to be watching them if they had any interest in them whatsoever. So I'm just going to go through and give a quick impression of how I feel about the second season, first season part two, what have you. Um, so first I'm going to start with Dark Gathering. It's technically not a second season. It is a continuation of the first season. There wasn't really a break. This one just bled into two different seasons. It is a horror anime about a group of people that go around battling different spirits with other spirits. Very murder Pokemon. Esque, but it is a very well done show. I'm actually quite enjoying this one. It's got some Higurashi vibes. It's just very well done. I think the art style is very good, and I really have just been enjoying Dark Gathering. The 19th episode just aired, with the 20th airing tomorrow. So like I said, there's 25 episodes in this season, so it has technically been in summer and fall season 2023. Which is why I included it on this list. But I've actually been enjoying this one immensely, and it's the reason I've not dropped it and have still continued on. Second, we're going to do another horror one. It's horror adjacent. It's going to be Dead Mount Death Play. This is it's season one, part two. But I've been very much enjoying this one as well. Now, since the first half of the season aired, I believe it was 2 seasons ago, I have checked out the manga and I've really been getting into the story. The anime is very much toned down from the manga. The manga is a lot more explicit. It pushes the boundaries a little bit further than the anime does. I don't think it detracts from the anime, but I do think the anime is quite good. Otherwise, I would not be continuing on with it. Basically about the corpse god gets reincarnated into the normal world, still retaining a lot of his powers. There's a lot of assassins, a lot of otherworldly creatures, big crime story going on with it. There's just a lot going on in this show, and if I remember correctly, it's done by the same guy who did Durarara, which has another IP that had a lot going on with it. But Dead Mountain Death Play feels a little bit scaled back. It's a little bit more accessible, and it has been a fun ride. I've greatly enjoyed that one. Next up on this list is Hypnosismic Division Rap Battle Rhyme Anima Plus. Such a long title. Hypnosismic came out a number of years ago and was about set in a world where crimes and violence were no longer done with weapons. They were done through rap battles. And it was a very silly premise. But it was an enjoyable show. There were memorable characters. The music, as far as most anime music shows goes, was fine. I enjoyed a lot of the songs. A lot of them are, as the kids say, bops. I sound so old there. But it truly was an enjoyable first season. The second season isn't as enjoyable as the first, I will admit. I think the first season gained a lot from coming out of nowhere. It's just a very weird, interesting show. This doesn't get a lot of that. What's going to happen? It's just kind of a continuation. Now, the story has changed up where they've introduced some new rap groups. It keeps hinting at some backstory that we've never gotten in the show. Now, I believe from my reading and research, a lot of that hidden backstory is in the manga and audio dramas. Now, audio dramas are not translated here, and my Japanese is nowhere near good enough to be able to listen to them. However, I have found some places online that have translated the manga, so that is something I am going to be checking out because the backstory seems actually fairly deep, going into a lot of the military stuff and what switched from weapons to microphones with the rap battles, because through the hypnosis mics, as it were, they're able to create illusions to do battle. So, like I said, the second season is not as good as the first season, but it is interesting. It does kind of pull up more of this backstory and makes you kind of wonder, but it doesn't really lay it out there in a way that's accessible unless you kind of dig for it. But I'm enjoying this season. It's now all of these groups are going after one group, TBH, who's apparently a DJ that has a whole plot that he is going through to try and get to do something to these rap group people. It's not explained real well. It's just kind of one of those turn your brain off and go with it shows, and for that, it's doing an adequate job. Next up, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. I don't think I'm going to say anything that hasn't been said already. This season's immaculate. The first half of the season basically was just a bunch of backstory. It technically doesn't fit in this season, so it was weird how they did it. But currently we're in the Shibuya arc, which has been absolutely mind-blowing as of today, which is November 18th, the newest episode. I don't even know what the animation budget for that episode was, but I can only imagine it was ridiculously high. Because with Sukuna and everything, it was just mind-blowing. This season has been absolutely incredible. The first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, in my opinion, was good, but it felt a little lackluster and generic as far as shonen goes. But then, because I did go through and watch the movie, and started learning more about the world, it really pushed me to want to continue, and the season has not disappointed. It's actually gotten better and better and better. So that's why everybody's singing the praises of Jujutsu Kaisen and Gojo Sensei and everything. It's just been absolutely just a thrill ride from beginning to end. So if you're not caught up on Jujutsu Kaisen, please get caught up. It is honestly worth it. If you're feeling the first season's a little slow, I understand it does get better, but partway through that season, it just keeps going, and they start developing character backstories, and it just really shows the writing has really come into its own. I do wish it had done that a little bit quicker, but that's just a personal preference. This one I definitely do think is worth it. All right, moving on from there, I don't have too many more left. It looks like on my list I only have two. I'm not watching that many sequels this season. Next up is the Faraway Paladin, the Lord of Rust Mountains. So first season aired quite some time ago now, basically about a small boy who, I believe, been a while. I believe he was reincarnated and is basically raised by the spirits of three heroes who have passed away and are holding onto this planet to raise him. Throughout the first season, you see him grow and then leave the nest. Two of the parents are then pulled into the afterlife and one is left behind. He then goes on to make friends, become the lord of an entire land, gain the blessing of the goddess, and starts going around and protecting people. The land that he is a lord over, he has gradually built out of different groups of survivors from other lands, and he keeps them safe and protects them. no real change. That is kind of basically, we're still running into the second season with that. They have introduced more characters, more people into his group, and he is going to Rust Mountain to defeat a dragon and try to get the dwarves their homeland back. The show is very, very well done. I don't want to say it's on the level of Frieren. I think Frieren, I'm a little bit more excited to watch each week. I like the storytelling a little bit more. I like the characters a little bit more. This is one of those shows where I don't get excited to watch it each week, but once I finish the episode, I'm happy that I watched it. So I have a bunch of different ways that I look at shows. I have shows that I'm excited to watch each week because I want to see what happens. Shows that I couldn't care less, but I need to, see it through, or those ones I might drop. And then the shows that I'm not particularly excited to watch, but once the episode's done, I'm glad that I watched it. Faraway Paladin's going to be that third group. I'm never really excited to watch it. It's not to say that it's not exciting. It's not to say I don't like the characters or anything. I think it's very, very well done. It just fades into the background for me as a show that I'm watching until I'm partway through the episode, and I'm like, okay, this is why I'm still watching this. This is why I still enjoy this. And it happens every single week. It's mind-blowing to me. But the Faraway Paladin is good. There's nothing bad about it. It's a very well-done show. Characters and the world is very well realized. They've done a lot with that, and you keep learning little snippets here and there as it progresses along. It just moves a little slow, which is all right. There's nothing wrong with that. It stays consistent. I think that's the biggest thing. It's a consistent show, whereas the ones I get really excited about each week may not be consistent. They may be on a high and it might fall off, and the ones I'm not particularly excited about, start on low and may have some upsides to them. This one is just kind of consistent through the middle. It's good if you have time for it, but beyond that. But other than that, it's not bad. Going on to, it looks like the very last sequel is The Saints' Magic Power is Omnipotent 2. So Season 2 on this one. This is kind of like a lighthearted otome. Basically, Sage Sama, the Holy Sage, is reincarnated. Two of them are reincarnated into another world. The one that they think is the Holy Saint is technically not, and eventually they figure out that Sei is the Holy Saint, and then she gets started treated well. I say it's kind of an otome because she does have all of these suitors and guys around her, but she's not really romancing any of them. She just wants to have her hobbies, her growing her medicinal herbs, making potions, things to that nature. And that was basically what season 1 did. It was basically just her going around saving people, getting rid of miasma with her Holy Saint powers, and making potions and things like that. And then as they discovered her, then we lead into season 2. Beginning of season 2 has now kind of branched more into that romance aspect of it, but kind of not really. So she is still helping clear out miasma, but now in this newest episode, as of the 18th, she has basically cleared out almost all of them. So now the kingdom, being a medieval fantasy setting, has started to talk about her being married and finding suitors and so on, and noble families and so on and so forth. It's this kind of obsession with these medieval shows on trying to follow this nobility arc on setting up suitors for marriages, and they're very unhappy, but it's political weddings and marriages. And I understand that this was a thing in medieval times. I don't like it. It's annoying to me. And when you add in the mentality of the character, who is she's a pushover. She's never going to stand up and say what she means unless kind of pushed to do that. it kind of leads into situations where, it might be culturally, this is just because of me being American and how, I'd stand up and say something for myself, and I just wouldn't let those things happen, for better or worse. I think that might be why these things perturb me as much as they do. I don't like watching these characters get into issues because they let themselves get put in these situations. Now, it's not always the case. This one, however, seems to be the case. She's more or less regarded as not a deity or anything to that nature, but they will listen to her if she says things, and she just never says anything. Whether she feels she's not worthy of stating something or so on and so forth, that's her personality choice. But that is where this season is at for that show. And it's honestly kind of been one of the more lackluster ones that I'm watching, and I'm still hesitant on keeping it because I'm already finished 7 of 12, so it's, I can see the end in sight. But at the same time, as with my last video, this is a hobby that takes up a large amount of my time, and so I honestly might drop this one in favor of, an extra 24 minutes a week of video game time or manga time or anything else. But yeah, so with that said, those are all of the sequels that I'm watching this season. There were a lot of other high-profile ones that came out. Attack on Titan. I don't like Attack on Titan. Vinland Saga, another one not for me. But there were a lot of high-profile ones that came out this season, so there was definitely a lot to choose from. And these are the ones that I'm kind of going through. Probably not the norm for a lot of people outside of Jujutsu Kaisen. That one's on most people's list. I'm just, I'm weird. But what ones are you guys watching? Is there anything that you're really enjoying this season as far as the sequel goes? Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're checking out, what you're enjoying. I'd really like to hear about it. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I'm the Discerning Otaku. And as per always, watch more anime, read more manga. Guys, have a good one.